It is a great honor and a privilege to introduce Baruch Glattstein. We're here in your beautiful apartment in Jerusalem. And Baruch, you were originally born in Hungary during the Shoah. If you could tell us a little bit about your parents and the connection to Hanah Shenesh with your mother, it would be unbelievable.
Okay, my father is Baruch Glattstein, is from Košice, and my mother is from Prešov, Košice. A long time it was part of Hungary, and then now it is part of Slovakia. My mother is from Prešov and is part of the Slovak Republic, once part of Czechoslovakia. The rabbi of Prešov was Rabbi Moshe Lau, the father of Israel Lau, Rabbi Israel Lau. And my sister was born, my parents married in 1938, and my sister was born in 1939. A not good time to be born. And my parents decided to escape from the Czechoslovakia Republic in 1942 because Jews were transported to Auschwitz, to Treblinka, and it was not so easy to escape to Hungary because many people did it, and the Hungarian authority wanted to not to allow this smuggling of the border. But nevertheless, my parents and some other people tried once, and only my mother escaped, and all the group was arrested. And then they tried once again, and my mother and my father escaped, and the sister of my mother escaped, and they lost in the forest my sister. She was 30 years old. The sister of my mother, Hilda, she went back to the forest, and she found my sister, and she took her back to Košice. We had the sister of my mother had a sister in Košice that was Hungarian. Her name was Malvin, and as you know, in Hungary, the situation was more or less okay until 19 March 44, when the Nazi entered to Hungary. My parents, they put, my parents decided to live as non-Jewish people. They received received from the underground some documents that they are not Jewish. They put my mother in. They put my sister in. How do you say, like Minzar, Bet Yatomim?
Orphanage.
What?
Like an orphanage.
Okay. They put my sister because they could not if you are not Jewish and you don't have the right document, it's hard to stay with children. So she was in a special place for children, for non-Jewish children, and my mother was pregnant with me, and once she was there was a point of check of the Nazi and Hungarian police, and they stop some people in the street, and they saw that my mother was there, and they saw that her document is not original document.
It's forged.
Forged document. Her Hungarian language was not so good, so she is not local, because she is from the Slovak Republic, and she learned Hungary only after they moved from Prešov to Hungary. She was arrested in Budapest. They live in Budapest a few years from 42 to 44 when she was arrested. So she was arrested. They asked about her husband, and she said, I live in the street, I'm alone. I have no husband, and because they thought she is maybe a spy, they put her in the prison, and accidentally they put her in the same chamber of Hanah Shenesh. So they were together. I don't know how long, maybe 1 month or 2 months, I have no idea.
Were they in the same cell, the same room?
In the same chamber. They were together. My mother and Hanah Shenesh. And Hanah Shenesh explained, she guided my mother how to behave in the investigation. The head of the Gestapo in this prison was someone that was called Lemke. His name is Lemke. He's from Vienna. And he asked my mother all the time, from who gave you this document, who gave you this document, you are not Hungarian, you are not Hungarian. My mother also spoke fluently German, because in her home many Jewish families spoke Hungarian. It was characteristic mainly to Jewish people who know German. And she refused to say who gave her the document. She said, no, I am from small village, because and that's the reason that I don't speak good Hungarian. I'm poor man from a very simple family, etc., etc. But Hanah told my mother that once she is going once again to investigation, in a moment where Lemke does not pay attention, she has to take this document and to destroy it in the toilet. And this is what she did. In moments that he was not nearly stable, she took this document and if there was any trial, they have no proof because there is no document. So this is what she did, and unfortunately afterwards they didn't find this document, and they were very angry with my mother. They were sure that she did it, and my mother was tortured by the Nazis.
And she was pregnant with you?
Yes, pregnant with me, and she was tortured very much, very much. She was ill after the Holocaust, several years, and only in Israel about 1954 or 5, she had a surgery in her head, and afterwards she was okay. But Hanah also guided her to make herself that she is very ill. She is pregnant and she is very ill, and she fall down in the stairs, and they took my mother to hospital in this place, and Hanah told my mother that from the hospital she can escape. And the mini hospital in this prison, and that's what she did. She was in this place of the mini hospital in this place, and she escaped from the prison. She went to Kastner, and she told him that the German police, the Hungarian police, are after her if he can give her some document to go to the famous train, but he refused to help my mother. He refused to help her. My father used to say that it is natural because he doesn't want to be in trouble. And that's it. So,
Baruch, can I just ask, because it's a very controversial. They say that Hanah Shenesh's parents also pleaded with Kastner to help.
Yes, my mother, when
to help Hanah Shenesh.
the father of Hanah Shenesh wasn't alive. He died before the Holocaust. But the mother, Katarina, used to come to the prison. My mother also saw her in the prison. My mother told me that I don't know if it can happen that when Katarina came to the prison, and one day her hair was white. I don't know if it can happen, but she told that it was. And after the Holocaust in Israel, Katarina lived in Haifa, and my parents used to visit them twice a year. In Haifa. Katarina knew my mother in the prison. So my mother she admired Hanah. She was ready to tell her story to each one that is ready to hear her, and in 1955, I think that Victor Ameri, a well-known writer in Israel in this time, was asked to write a plan to Rabima.
For a play?
Yes, for a stage, yes. And he interviewed my mother 3 nights. Unfortunately, I was a child and I had a very good tape recorder, and unfortunately, I didn't make. I didn't document it. Unfortunately.
Do you have the book?
But I have the book, and here is the book.
And that's Hanah Shenesh.
It's Hanah Shenesh, and in the end of the book, Avigdor Meiri, he writes, thanks to all the people who helped me to write this book. One of them is my mother, that she was with Hanah in the same chamber in this prison that is still prison in these days as well.
It still exists.
Yeah, it still exists, and okay. So, if you know Eliada Bar Shaul, he heard about the story of my mother, and he interviewed me, and he wrote the story of my mother in a book that is called Yamim Ketikunam. It's about a unique women. He wrote mainly on Hanah, but he wrote also on my mother. And here is the story of my mother. Here are my parents after the Holocaust. And in Karlovy Vary, my parents Budapest was released in 18 January 45, and my parents began to move to Prešov back. They went after the front of the battle. When the Russians go ahead, they also go ahead. But I was born in a small village that is called Sharosh Patak. I was born in the night in February. 12 February on the floor.
In what year? It was
1945. The Nazis were in Hungary up to April 45. But I was born in a place that there were no small German.
And was this in Hungary?
This is part of Hungary, small village in Hungary.
Baruch, can I just ask, when your mother left the hospital from the prison and she met with Kastner to ask if he can help her or go on the train, when did she meet your father? Was it soon after?
I think she found a way to meet him. I know that when they decided to live in a Jewish identity, they used to meet each other once a week in a garden, in a public garden, once a week, in the same day, the same hour, and once my mother didn't come, my father understood that there is problem. My mother disappeared, and he understood that she is in trouble, some trouble, and I don't know how he was informed that she's in prison, in Budapest. How they meet each other afterwards, after the parents die, you have so many questions that you did not ask. I have no idea how they met each other after she escaped from the prison. My mother had energy and senses like a cat in the street. She was very I don't know how to say it in English.
She was like very active, very active.
No, she was active. She knew what to do. Usually they live in how do you say miklat in
it's
English?
a shelter.
Shelter. My father and my mother used to live in shelter. They found some shelters, and they spent a night, 2 nights in one shelter. And then the neighbor told the police that there are some Jews, maybe there are some Jews in the shelter, so they had to move from one shelter to another one, like homeless. I don't know why they decided to live as non-Jew. I didn't ask them, because most of the Jews decided to live in Budapest as a Jewish person.
And they came
Jewish
from
people.
They came from a religious background. Your grandparents were religious.
Yes, they were religious. The uncle of my father was practically he was the rabbi of Slovakia between the two World War. His name was Baruch Glattstein. The uncle of my father. My grandfather died as a soldier in World War I. In 1918, as a soldier in the Austrian-Hungarian army. Unbelievable. He was Orthodox, 5 children, and I didn't ask my father what an Orthodox Jew that has 5 children is doing in a war where Jews are killing Jews.
Unbelievable. Hungarian Empire, yeah.
Yes, Austrian, but he was 35 years old, I think, and Orthodox Jew. And what he has to do in a war that the Jews...
Because on both sides there were Jews, on each side.
I have no idea why he joined to... here you
Baruch,
see...
can you show in the book you have...
Here is the prison, and here is written that in this prison was the head of the Gestapo in Budapest in 44 until January 45. And it was amazing. We made a road trip 6 years ago. I did it with my sister and our children, and I got a call from the publisher of this book, and they asked me if I have a picture of the prison. And I got this call when I was in this place.
Wow.
I told them I'm in front of this prison, and my son makes some pictures and send by mail or by WhatsApp. I don't know. Immediately these pictures.
Was it very emotional to go back to
It's
Budapest?
unbelievable. Some people say that it is accidental, and some people say
It's min hashamayim.
it is not.
Yeah. But Baruch, was it very difficult for you to go back to Budapest? Was it emotionally very difficult?
I was excited, but I cannot say that it was difficult, because it was important for me to show my children the roots of the family, what happened to the family. We travel also to Prešov, Košice, the house of my mother, the father. The place where the uncle of my father was the rabbi of the head of the yeshiva in this place. It was called Kirai Helmets, and I thought that it is must to do it, because the grandchildren of my children should be asked in the future the origin of the family, and if they make this trip, it should be easier to them to explain about the roots of my family.
And Baruch, I want to ask, was this the sister that was lost in the forest that your...
Yes.
And
she lives in Tel Aviv. She doesn't like to speak about her experience in the Holocaust. She's typical Holocaust survivor. She's not a relaxed woman. She worries all the time. She's a real survivor.
did she get married and have a family?
Yes, she has. She got married. She has 3 children, grandchildren. Everything is fine.
And Baruch, when you were born, how long did you stay in that town after you?
My father stayed in this small town about 2 months, and then they moved home to Prešov, and when they arrived to Prešov, they felt that they live in a cemetery, because from 4,000 Jews that died in the Holocaust, only about from 4,000 Jews in this town before the Holocaust, only 1,000 survived. And my father told me, I asked him why you decided to leave this town and to move to Karlovy Vary. It's like to move in Israel from Metula to Eilat, or Kiryat Shmona to Eilat, to the other side. He told me that they felt that they live in a cemetery. When he went to the synagogue, he looked at the house. Mr. Schwartz didn't came back, this person, this family didn't come back. It was a bad feeling.
It was too painful. Most probably
very painful, very painful. And they decided to open a new period in Czechoslovakia. In the Sudet area, there were 3 million Germans, and in a short time all of them were forced to leave back to Germany. So there were many houses, many empty houses. And my parents moved to one of these apartments in Karlovy Vary. And the picture that you saw, it is in Karlovy Vary.
Of your parents?
Yes, when after the Holocaust.
And how long did they stay in Karlovy Vary?
In Karlovy Vary they stayed 4 months, and then we moved to Israel in 1949.
Straight after
I was 4 years old. My daughter was, and we spent some time in Ma'abara, in a few months in a tent, like other Jews, and then we moved to a small apartment, etc., etc. And more or less life was okay in Israel.
And Baruch, can I just ask you, this is a difficult question, when the Kastner trial, when there was the Kastner trial in the 50s,
yes.
You were still very small, but do you remember the Kastner trial? Or do you remember?
Of course. I liked politics when I was 6 years old. I used to read newspapers. I knew on politics everything as a small child. And my parents used to speak about the trial of Kastner. My father used to say he took care on himself, on his family. You know that on the train was the family also of Kastner from Transylvania, Hungarian part of Romania. And my mother says that she didn't like him. She didn't like Kastner. She thought that the behavior of Kastner to her and to the mother of Hanah was a real shame. And it is very symbolic. I think it was in 55. If you know what is Adloyada. In Purim, there was in Tel Aviv, Adloyada, a march.
Like a parade?
Yes, parade, and my mother took a bus to this parade with me, and on the way, Kastner, the ceremony of when he died in the hospital.
Because he was, they tried to assassinate him.
When we moved to Tel Aviv, we saw the, how do you call it, all the cars of Chevra Kadisha, etc.
He was
came on the other side, and we saw the Chevra Kadisha car with Kastner. There is a cemetery that's called Nachalat Yitzchak. It is on the border of Givatayim, where we lived many years from 54 to 76, and we saw from the window the car of Hever Kadisha with Kastner. He's on his way to the cemetery, and we are on the way
to
Tel Aviv to this parade.
It's amazing. It is. It's ironic.
Very ironically.
Yeah.
And I remember my mother looks to this car and said, "It is good that he is not alive." For her, it was. He said it is good penalty to him.
Wow. And Baruch, I want to ask you, your parents.
Yes.
Did they remain from after the Shoah, after the Holocaust? Were they the emunah? Were they religious? They.
My father was a religious person. My mother less. She used to say, "I'm not sure that there is a God, but after I will die, you will say after me Kaddish."
Did she light Shabbos candles?
What?
Did she do Shabbos candles?
Yes, of course. But on Friday, for example, she wanted to go outside of our apartment, and it was dark in the, how do you call it?
Like the hallway.
The hallways, and she used to turn on the lights because she said, "I'm sure that God doesn't want that I will break my leg." And after the Holocaust, I refused to stay at home, even on Saturday. That's it. I want to meet friends, I want to live, and no one will stop me, even if there is dark in the
hallway. Wow. And David, I want to ask you, if I can, Baruch, if I can just ask you, Baruch, what message do you impart to your children and the future generations? What, having been born during the Shoah, really, and what your parents went through?
I think my parents could live to the United States also. They had a visa to the United States, but they decided to come to Israel, maybe because they understood that it is the right place for Jews. And secondly, they had family in Israel, also my father and also my mother. I think that my children, it is self-evident for them to live only in Israel. This is their homeland, and no doubt about it.
And can I just ask, from your extended family, your mother's siblings or your father's siblings, did a lot die in the Shoah?
What?
From your extended family, your parents' family,
yes.
Were there many that weren't saved or were nifted, that passed away, that were killed in the Shoah?
The parents of my mother, the parents of my mother were killed in Auschwitz in 1942. And aunts, uncle, etc., cousins died in the Holocaust, many of them, from my father's side, and from my mother's side. Many of them were killed in the Holocaust.
And Baruch, do you speak to your children? Do you speak to your children a lot about the Shoah and to your grandchildren?
I used to speak from time to time, yes.
Yeah.
I used to speak on the Shoah.
Did your parents speak with you a lot when you were growing up?
It was amazing. My parents in Saturday night, almost every Saturday night after the meal, how do you say?
And Havdalah?
Shabbos lunch.
Yeah.
They used to speak about the Holocaust every Friday, only at Friday night.
On Friday night?
Friday night after the lunch, they used to speak hours on the Holocaust. Every.
And you used to listen?
Yes, I used to listen.
And did your parents, a lot of their friends, they were friendly with also survivors who came from?
Yes, we had we have family, we had friends from that came to Israel from Slovakia, from the Czech Republic, from Hungary. They used to speak of the Holocaust many times.
And were your parents close with the chief rabbi, with Rabbi Lau? Did they have a kish with Rabbi Lau?
Maybe my mother met him, but as far as I know, she wanted that the Rabbi Lau will be the rabbi who make my marriage, and finally it didn't happen. She wanted that he will speak about pressure of the Jews, of pressure, but finally it didn't happen. That's it.
Wow. And Baruch, just lastly, you have so much. I mean, it's part of Jewish history. It's amazing what you went through and what your parents went through.
I have two unique stories about the Shoah. When I was in 1985, in February, and I received a phone call from someone. He asked me if my name is Baruch Glattstein. I said yes, and he said, you were born 40 years ago in Sharosh Patak? I said yes. And the father, the name of your father is Laser? I said yes. And I hear that he says to his wife, yes, it's him, because he was a person that lived in Sharosh Patak, and when the Nazi left this place, the Jews came out, and my father met him and told him to go to big cities that was released and to find a Moel, because there is a Jewish baby. We need Moel for the Brit. So he was sent by my father to find Moel, and my father asked also some other people to find Moel. And when I was 40 years old, this person sat in the living room, and his mother told him, his wife told him, you remember 40 years ago, a Jewish baby was born in Sharosh Patak. It's interesting to know if they came to Israel. He lives there. So he said, how can we find him? Wife told him, okay, look at the phone book. And he found my name. And he called me, and it was amazing because they live in our neighborhood. We lived in Ramot Eshkol, and they lived in Sanedria, a few
close.
hundred meters from our house. My parents did not remember them, but we organized a meeting in our home. So when my parents saw them, they recognized them.
It's amazing.
It's a small world, how do I say?
It's incredible.
The second story is I was a forensic scientist, and I used to testify from time to time in a court. Once I testified, it was in year 2000. I testified in the court of Jerusalem in a murder case, and there were also testified one. His name is Dr. Levy from the Pathologist Institute. And he also testified in this court. And after we finished, I asked him, "How did you arrive to the court?" He said, "By bus." I told him, "Okay, because the court is in the east side of the city." I told him, "I'll take you back to the central bus station." And on the way, he asked me, from where my parents. I told him, and he said that he's from, okay, I told from my mother from Pressure, my father from Košice, and he said he's from a small town not far from Košice, Kira Helmets. I told him that the uncle of my father was the rabbi of the yeshiva, the small town, and all Slovakia, as well, Baruch Glattstein. And he was very excited. I didn't understand why, because he was a very cynic person. And he took from me, he had in his pocket the smicha of Rabbanut that his father received from the uncle of my father, Baruch Glattstein. And it is in his pocket as, how do you call it, as kamea, because he's an emotional person, although he works in a very bad place.
So he keeps it with him all the time?
All the time. And I saw the document. I was also excited because it was the first time I see the handwriting of the uncle of my father. I can show you afterwards the picture of the rabbi, and from this time, we went back to the court. I made a photocopy of this document.
Wow. It's incredible.
Yes, it's unbelievable.
Baruch, it's incredible. Baruch, I just want to thank you. But what an amazing that he keeps it with him, and yes, that you just gave him a lift, and you gave him a ride to the central bus station, and that you were discussing.
Yes.
So Baruch, I really want to thank you. I am so grateful to you, Baruch. Really, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
And I am extremely grateful. It's so many things. It's not a coincidence. It's Min HaShamayim. This is in today's Jerusalem Post. Parachuting for Hanah. The idea to follow the path of Hanah Shenesh's 1944 mission to Yugoslavia in honor of her 100th birthday.
Yes, I know about it. It is written also in In the internet in Hebrew.
Sure, it's a big thing. It's they're going to go to Slovenia, and then to parts of Yugoslavia, which ex-Yugoslavia, and then to Hungary, and they're going to retrace her path.
Retrace all the way to where she was arrested.
But to think that because Hanah Shenesh is an icon in Israel, she's a great hero. What she did.
She's an icon. Yes.
And to think that your mother knew her and she gave her advice. Your mother must have been very upset when she heard that she was killed. That they tried of her treason, and it was the Hungarian police.
I think that, for example, Glattstein could be helpful, but he didn't want to help.
And I think when that happened, the whole Israeli public changed their views. There was the turning point in that trial, when they heard that Glattstein didn't help Hanah Shenesh's mother.
When Glattstein died, I don't think that my mother was happy that he died. My father did not care.
But
yes, my wife that died a year ago.
I'm so Baruch, you should just only have nachas and good health. And only smachot, and really I'm so grateful to you for meeting and for hearing your incredible story. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Maybe I'll make just a minute. Can
we see the picture? It would be wonderful if you could.
The picture of this.
Sure. It's so good. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much.
This is the picture of your uncle.
The uncle of my father, Rabbi Baruch Glattstein.
You can see very, very distinguished. Very.
Yes.
And he was the Rav in.
She was the rabbi, rabbinical authority of Slovakia between the two wars, First World War and the Second one. And he went with his community in 1944 to Auschwitz. Only few left. Only few survived. From about 1,000 Jews, only 10 came back from Auschwitz.
But he didn't survive.
He did not. He and his family did not survive, unfortunately.
This is the parents of
my mother. They were born in the same day, 25 July 1885. And they were killed in Auschwitz in the same day.
In the same day?
In 1942, in Shavuot. It was in the day of Shavuot 1942. Born in the same day and killed in the same day. If you get, this is my grandfather at the time, called after him Baruch Moshe. Moshe is after him.
And was he nifta before the war?
Yes, he is when he was soldier in the Hungarian Austrian-Hungarian army.
And he died.
He died
in the First World War.
Yes, in 1918. In 1918 and in 1918, and they left 5 small children. My father was 6 years old.
It must have been so difficult to fight in an army that was fighting against other Yidden.
Yes, of course. I have your mail.
Yeah.
Oh.
Baruch, this is the smicha that you're
of Rabbi Baruch Glattstein to okay.
It's incredible. It's just amazing. The whole story is unbelievable.
Here is the translation of I'll show something okay. Here's the picture of the rabbi, you see,
Yeah.
in a store in Tel Aviv.
I can see, sure.
This store was belonged to one of the survivor of the community of Yosef Glattstein. He had a business, a store in Tel Aviv of shaving machine, and after he died, his wife the store was rented by someone, and the condition to rent this store was that the picture will remain there. I asked of one of the workers in this store, do you know who is this person? He said, I work here 5 years. I saw this picture. I have no idea who is this person.
Wow. It's amazing.
You see here.
And is the store still in existence today?
Yes, you can go to this store in Tel Aviv, you will find this picture.
Baruch.
It was conditional.
That's amazing.
That this picture will be. I used to write from time to time on Parshat Shavua. My life and Parshat Shavua. And I put also, if you knew Edward Koch, did you see his grave?
He was the mayor
of New York. Did you see his grave? What he wrote?
My father is Jewish, my mother is Jewish.
My mother is Jewish, I'm Jewish. You heard about Daniel Pearl that was killed in Pakistan.
And he put here Shema Yisrael.
Yes, and he said to the Muslim, my father is Jewish, my mother.
That is before he was killed.
What?
Before he was killed.
Yes. So Edward Koch decided also to write this on his grave. He had no family.
Yeah.
He had no wife, children, no.
Thank you so much, Baruch.
Okay.
Really, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You see, life is about timing.
And it's all min hashamayim. It's all min hashamayim. What happened with your mother, what happened with you,
yes,
it's all min hashamayim.
Really.
Thank you so much.
Okay.